you see something suspicious, it's worth making the call.
Did you hear about the stabbing that happened at the track meet yesterday?
I did. I heard about it on the morning news this morning, the local news.
What are some of your kind of initial thoughts?
As always, heartbroken that something like this would happen on one of our K through 12 school campuses anywhere in this country. So it's one of those things that maybe I'm no longer shocked by it, but disheartened, sad, and of course always looking at what can everyone do better from a school safety and security standpoint.
The little that you know, what are some of the things that you think what are some of the questions that you had as you're hearing about this from the third time as like a outsider, but also kind of expert in the field?
Well, I think that first of all, we're talking about the Frisco Police Department. That is a fantastic police department. We're familiar with their school resource officers program. They do a wonderful job. So no questions there. I think that we're always looking at incidents in the rearview mirror. We're asking ourselves, what level of police presence do we need to have now at a certain event when something like this has occurred? We're talking about a track meet, which has not historically been something that has generated a lot of problems. Certainly nothing like this that I'm aware of. So we're always, again, thinking about now that this has happened, what's the next step that we take? And again, we're all for a proper law enforcement presence. As a former SRO, I certainly have been present at different types of sporting events and other events at high schools. So that probably has to be looked at. If this occurred during the school day, we always want to think about, what measures are we taking to try and keep weapons out of schools. And I'm sure that in Frisco they're doing some great things to try and keep that from happening. But it's a very difficult task. Just to keep weapons off of a school campus is not as easy as people might think. I would say the other thing is that, for people who are in attendance at these events, no one should have to be in a position where they're scared to go to this kind of event. But we're always going to say to people, and I like to use the phrase, kind of keep your head on a swivel. Be aware of, what's going on around you, of your surroundings. If you see, an intense situation going on, don't ignore it. Be vigilant about it. If there's law enforcement nearby, go grab them. If there's security nearby, or call 911. Those are important steps to take in that situation.
Now, I think when we were talking about it this morning in our morning meeting, we've all been to track meets and they're a little unwieldy. There's events over here and over there. People are coming and going. Can you just speak to some of the difficulties in particular with a track event?
Yeah, and it really is interesting when we talk about different types of sporting events. A football game, even though we may have a large crowd, there's some containment there. We've got the one event really going on, and there's sort of some containment where everyone is. You think about something like a track meet or even a wrestling meet, where there's different venues going on. So it is a lot to have your eyes on and to cover. Again, I hate that we're in a situation of thinking about that we've got to have someone watching high jump, we've got to have someone watching hurdles, we've got to have whatever it might be. We got to have someone watching pole vaulting. From that standpoint, that does become challenging, just personnel-wise. So I think that this is one of those things that now that we've seen this happen at a track meet, now it's on all of those in school safety, our association included, to kind of go back to the drawing board with folks and say, hey, now what do we need to look at here? But again, we always have to keep in mind that there's a limit on personnel that you can put in this kind of situation.
I think events like this happen and everyone's first reaction is, what about metal detectors? Is that a viable option?
Well, look, there are a lot of great security technologies out there. Metal detectors can be valuable in certain situations. There's some emerging technology, actually it's out there now, weapons detection technology, where it's searching more for the shape of a weapon, whether it be a knife or a firearm, an explosive device. So there are some great security technologies out there, but you can't just rely on those. You got to have the rest of the plan in place. When you think about that, if you use a practical situation like a school building, you can have all the metal detectors or weapons detection systems that you want at the main entrance. But if you don't have perimeter security, that's not going to help you very much. So let me sum it up this way. That type of technology could be helpful, but you've got to make sure that all of the other points of entry and exit are secured and covered, and that we're not missing things coming into those vulnerable areas.
Is there anything that stood out that the district could have done differently?
I haven't seen enough of it to know or to be able to judge that at all.
This track meet, from what I've heard, is going to be rescheduled. Obviously, we're still in the final stretch of track season. What is your message to parents who are sending their kids to track meets probably tomorrow and this weekend?
I was just talking with a lady not 10 minutes ago who's in that very situation, and we were talking through, hey, what are the things that she can do as a mom? And it was that discussion about being vigilant. Don't not go. First is the message. Don't let the fear of something like that control you. Look, it's not an isolated incident to the people that it's happened to and the young man that lost his life. This is massive, life-changing event that happened yesterday. But it is still, even like school shootings, for instance, it's still a rare circumstance. It doesn't mean that we're not concerned, and it doesn't mean that we don't pay attention to what's going on. We have to do that. But I still have to say we still have to live as well. That's important. I think for parents, even with that edge of fear, and I get it, I'm a parent and a grandparent myself, so I can understand that, but try not to let that keep you from doing the things that you need to be doing with your family.
On that note, people that go, is there anything that any bit of knowledge that they could take with them to be a little more vigilant, to keep their head on a swivel, they should be looking out for?
Well, I think, first of all, if you see someone with a weapon, obviously, if there's a security guard or a police officer nearby, grab them, let them know what you're seeing. The whole idea of see something, say something is a great idea. Now, it's even better when you've got someone you have a relationship with that you can go and tell. But bottom line, if you see something suspicious at one of these events, speak up. Let someone in charge know, and especially if you've got a police officer or security officer there. If not, call 911. Don't take anything for granted. I think that sometimes when we talk about see something, say something, people can get a little skittish about that because they're like, well, I don't want to be seen as that person that's singling somebody out. You see something suspicious, it's worth making the call, 100%.
Okay, and let me check. I think there was one more. Have you guys worked directly with Frisco and Frisco ISD?
Yeah, we've trained a number of their officers over the years. We've had great relationship with that agency for a long, long time. Fantastic agency.
Okay. So you think they're more than capable of helping both investigate this and then make the necessary changes going forward?
I can't imagine a more capable law enforcement agency than Frisco Police Department to deal with something like this. Investigate it and figure out the next step. Absolutely.